President-elect Donald Trump is filling out more spots in his cabinet. He chose Chris Wright as Energy Department Secretary. Wright is an oil industry executive and critic of the government's efforts to combat climate change. He also announced Brendan Carr as his pick for head of the Federal Communications Commission. Carr is a lawyer and has been a member of the FCC since 2017, picked by Trump during his first administration. Questions remain this week about Pete Hegseth, Trump's choice for defense secretary. Hegseth's lawyer told CBS News that Hegseth agreed to a confidential settlement with a woman who accused the Fox News anchor of sexual assault. But that lawyer also emphasized that Hegseth maintains his innocence and that the encounter was consensual. Trump's team is defending his qualification as a candidate to serve as Secretary of Defense. CBS News political reporter Olivia Rinaldi is following the president-elect from West Palm Beach. Olivia, Hegseth's attorney has said his client reached that settlement to deter the accuser from going forward with the lawsuit out of concern that just the allegation alone could lead to his firing from Fox News. How could these allegations factor into Hegseth's nomination process, and what more do we know?
Well, good to be with you, Lindsay. We learned over the weekend about that payment related to that non-disclosure agreement related back to this 2017 incident that had occurred between Hegseth and this woman that left her with contusions to her right thigh. As you mentioned, we do know that as part of the settlement, she was paid an undisclosed amount, and the result of that was so that this information would not get out and lead to his firing at Fox News, where he was a host. But really the question here is whether or not the Trump transition team will continue to put him forth as the Secretary of Defense pick, and by all indications, it seems that they will. Over the weekend, Stephen Chung standing by Hegseth. He is Trump's communications director. He was also announced that he would be the White House communications director, saying in a statement to CBS News that he remains a highly qualified candidate, and they look forward to seeing him nominated to Secretary of Defense. So even though this incident had occurred back in 2017 and there was a later payment in 2020 as a result, it does seem like the Trump transition team is sticking behind him and will be putting him forth for that role.
Talk about some of the other picks. Trump announced he has picked oil executive Chris Wright to lead the Department of Energy. Wright has denied that there is any sort of climate crisis. And look, Olivia, Trump has been clear about his goal with U.S. energy dominance. But what does this pick suggest about his agenda when it comes to the environment? And what's the likelihood of Wright's nomination?
Well, he certainly has been clear about that goal as far as drill, baby, drill. That was something we heard on the campaign trail pretty consistently, that Trump is looking for energy independence in the U.S. and increasing exports of energy and oil drilling here in the U.S. So the nomination of Chris Wright is really making good on that campaign promise. Not only is he putting forth for Secretary of the Energy, but also for this new National Energy Council that Trump would like to put together. And that would also be with Governor Burgum of North Dakota, who Trump tapped to lead the Secretary of the Interior. And in the entire goal of this new commission would be to cut regulations and increase investments to really ramp up that oil and gas drilling in the U.S. So it kind of shows what his priorities are there. He's talked about that being a day one priority of increasing those exports. But I also want to note that exports increased under President Biden's administration and was some of the highest exports of oil and gas drilling we saw in the U.S. So even though Trump is promising this, it would be a continuation of what we have seen in the Biden administration.
And Trump tapped Brendan Carr as his pick for FCC chairman. Who is he, and what is he expected to address if nominated to lead the Federal Communications Commission?
Yeah, it's a bit of a familiar pick for the President-elect Trump, former President Trump, now President-elect Trump. He first nominated Carr to the FCC back in 2017, and he's been serving as the highest Republican on the commission since then. And it's a bipartisan body. They're known for regulating, airwaves licenses for radio and broadcast, but also dealing with internet and broadband across the U.S. But Carr is really promising to shake up Washington. In a post this morning on X, he said it's time to flip the script in Washington, and later saying he wants to dismantle the censorship cartel related to Meta and Google and other big tech companies. That kind of shows what some of his goal is there. But I do also want to point out that Carr is a backer of Elon Musk's. He wrote an op-ed earlier criticizing how the FCC would not approve federal funding for Starlink, which we know is Musk's satellite service that has been used throughout the country. We heard a lot about it, especially after Hurricane Helene and Musk deploying a lot of Starlinks there. So interesting that he is a backer of Musk's and appears to be close with him as far as this. So we'll be watching to see who else Trump is going to pick in the coming days.
Olivia Rinaldi, thank you.